we've won the referendum, and that's great. That's wonderful. We've all had a day or two to be pleased. But seriously, I hope I'm amongst like-minded people here. That's not it. That shouldn't be the end. That should be the beginning. I never joined UKIP with the thought that it was going to be all about getting us out of the EU and then I'll go back and sell steel like we used to before. No point. There's no point in that. Because all that actually happens then is you've knocked down the door, you've given the country the opportunity of more freedom, of change, of radical new ideas and policies, but you've not actually enforced it. You've not carried it on. Do you really believe that the Labour and Conservative parties will take full advantage of the opportunity that lies ahead of the country? Do you think there's any chance whatsoever that they'll make the changes that the people who we all spoke to during that referendum campaign want, without us being on their tail? It's not going to happen. So, phase one is completed. We've won the EU referendum. Fantastic, great. Let's stop celebrating now, because we've got to get on to the more important stuff. We've knocked the door down. We can now get into really changing stuff. That's why I'm involved, and I hope that's why all of us are involved. I don't want to see this country continue to be misruled. And there's only one way to change that, and that's through UKIP. And it's no point us thinking, well, okay, shall we rebrand? Shall we change this? Shall we change that? Shall we worry too much about what we've said and done in the past? Shall we try and make everything different? Let's not worry about that. Let's think to ourselves, from nowhere, in a very short space of time, we've become the third largest political party in the country. From nowhere, we've achieved not only getting a referendum, but winning it. And anybody who tells you that was vote leave, I don't know what they're talking about. It was us. It was not vote leave. Vote leave played a part. They got people to the table. They got Conservatives onto the media to talk. But it's been proven out since Matthew Elliott has said this in the media since. Part of their aim was to keep UKIP away from it. And it was only those last few weeks of that campaign, when UKIP came to the fore, that we actually got there, really got there, and changed things. We won the votes over that Labour thought they got guaranteed for their pro-EU agenda. We won those votes. We got people to vote in the most important election of their lives for our agenda. As UKIP, think about that. Think about the power of that. Think about on that referendum night, where we saw votes coming out of London and Scotland were appalling. But then think about what came through from the Midlands, the North West, the North East, the English working classes on that day, and the Welsh, rose up in a way not seen since 1945. They kicked the establishment hard, and they said, we will not be told how we're going to live. We will not be told that what we think is wrong anymore, and we will not have this paternal attitude of the Labour and the Conservative parties telling us, stay in your place, be good little boys and girls, accept what we say. When you see jobs being taken up that in the past would have been taken up by young British people, and you see them being taken up by people who've freshly come to the country, don't say anything against that. Don't object, because that's obviously racist. Well, no, it's not. Of course it's not. And I'll tell you what, dozens and dozens of Asian second and third generation immigrants to this country told me that. They said, when we were going around, we're voting to leave the EU. Because we believe that people who live in Britain and who've come and settled here and made it their home should have the first opportunity on careers and jobs. They believe that. And they said, you're crazy to be told you're racist by sticking up for your own people, you're crazy. He said, they consider themselves, quite rightly, to be British, just as British as anyone else, and they are. Of course they are. But they weren't pussyfooting around it like we do, because they weren't frightened of saying things that weren't politically correct. UKIP has got to be the party that says what it means and means what it says. We can't get into this Oh, well, now then. We've got so far, but now we have to try and get to a centre ground. Oh, it's very important that we get to this central point where we don't offend anyone, we don't really say anything, we don't really do anything, but then maybe people will just come over to us because, you know, oh, we're a bit cuddly. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I've heard today, I'm going to go off my script because I'm so passionate about what I've heard today. There was a press conference earlier on today by Suzanne Evans. I don't know if any of you have heard it. Now in that conference, and I'm not going to criticise other members of UKIP, unlike Suzanne Evans, but what I will say, what she said was required of this party was to strive for the centre ground, to rid ourselves of the image of being the leadership, particularly far right, she said, for us to stop being so controversial. She wanted us to get to this central point. Well, how did we get to be where we are? Was it not with the leadership of Nigel Farage, who took risks, who led us forward, who we followed, and we did things that were considered beyond the pale at the time, and then afterwards, what happened? People came on board with us, people got excited, because people gave a damn. They could see we weren't the same old, repeating the same old nonsense that you hear all the time. Now, Nigel's done his bit, as he says, and I've spent time working with that man, and nobody could work harder. Nobody could have sacrificed more. Whatever anyone's view of Nigel Farage, if anyone says that he hasn't put in the effort, I'll talk to him, and I'll tell you what. I actually said to him the other day, I said, Nigel, where do you keep them all? He said, what do you want about it? I said, well, all your clones. Because it's not conceivable that one man can do so much. It simply beggars belief. But now, he's decided he's going to take a sideward step. Let's not forget, he never said he's going to go quiet. That's not going to happen. What he's done is he's said the leadership of the party lies here. I will continue to speak, I will continue to lead the agenda, I will continue to make a noise for the things we care about. Great. God bless him, but may he continue to do it for as long as he can. But now a responsibility comes to us. And I mean that, us, the membership, the grassroots of UKIP. Because I'll be completely honest with you, as a candidate myself, there isn't an outstanding candidate in this leadership election. There isn't another Nigel Farage waiting to step forward. I was a big supporter of Paul Nuttall. Unfortunately, for his own reasons, Paul can't continue. So that leaves the field open. I know that all of our colleagues and friends, and I'm honoured to class those people who are standing as actually as friends, they're good, honest, decent people who will not let you down. There is not a single person who's eligible to stand for the UKIP leadership and is in that pot at the moment who would let you down. Not a one. But we have between us a responsibility to find the best way forward. Now that's going to come from a series of hustings. It's going to come from a campaign where across social media, in public, at events like this, we'll discuss which way forward for the party. And we're going to have to do it as a team. We're going to have to work together. Because we haven't got Nigel doing it anymore. He's not going to drag us forward when we're all tired out. You know, I've been there, barely able to move sometimes. He said, come along boy, come along, let's get moving. He's not there now. So we've got to do it. Now my hope is that my bid for the leadership of UKIP is one that is positive. This campaign will be a positive one. I cannot conceive that any of the people involved in this will start shooting at each other and saying nasty things. It's not who we are. It isn't the way we're going to do it. But we've all got slightly different angles. The current front runner is Stephen Wolfe, who's an excellent bloke. I admire him greatly. He's doing it in a certain style, maybe a little more presidential than I'm going to put forward. But he's got a good point. He's a very, very good media communicator. And Jonathan Arnott, one of the best men I've ever met. Technically, well, his intellect is off the scale. Lisa Duffy, many of us will know for many years as an organiser within the party, a decent, honest, family woman who we can all respect. They all bring their own skills to the table. But I believe, with the help of the West Midlands area, I can bring something different to that table. And I speak as a complete outsider, and as someone who's miles behind. But we're all UKIP, aren't we? Aren't we used to that? Isn't that just what gets us up in the morning? But I believe that what I can bring, and it's not as me being the best thing since sliced bread, because I'm not. I'm not at all. I'm an ordinary bloke who used to work in the steel industry. I've had my ups and downs, I've made mistakes by the bucket. But at 46 years old, I hope I've learned from the mistakes. I can pick up and improve from them. I've been there with you. Many of you will know me from the times I've been there. I've been there on the streets campaigning. I know how hard it is. I also know how frustrating this party can be. Sometimes you're trying to get information out, you can't get it. You're trying to find out what the leadership wants, you can't work it out. No one's telling you, there's no communication. This party has achieved great things despite the fact that, let's be honest, with one or two notable exceptions, we haven't covered ourselves in glory on the old organisational side of things. We've got to understand this and accept it and face the reality so we can make it better. We've also at times misjudged things. One of the things where you're used to pushing the envelope to the very edge, sometimes you'll misjudge things. But we've done it honestly. And we need to continue pushing honestly. But people say we need to rebrand. I suggest that what we actually need to do is just start talking about different things in a different way. UKIP no longer needs to stand for United Kingdom Independence Party, but UKIP, the word, can stand for independence. Not just national independence and national sovereignty, personal independence and freedom, the right of people to have a good education. This is where we put forward and reassert our long-standing and powerful policies like grammar schools, making it easier for people to go to university if they're academically qualified. The right for the country to be free from the fear of attack. That's why we're going to make sure the defence budget is up to scratch. No more of this talk, we'll just about hit our 2% obligation to NATO. What are we talking about? This world is the most dangerous it's been for decades. One thing you can't put a price on is defence and safety of your people. This party should stand for that freedom and independence. Security at home, freedom from crime, police stations being shut, Bobby's no longer on the beat. Who voted for that? Where's your freedom from the fear of crime? Another freedom that we can stand for is making people feel like there is no need to fear crime. You can look at all the stats you want and twist statistics all you like. You can tell anybody that crime's gone down. You ask a pensioner living alone who hears rowdy noises outside their house every night, or who sees drug deals going on the street and they don't know where the Bobby is. You ask them how safe they feel. Ask them if crime's gone down. I think you'll find a different answer to what you might get in the statistics. There's the freedom to ensure that we're all healthy. We can stand for that as well. We can make sure the NHS is not subject to any further backdoor privatisation. I get so furious, absolutely, words I can't use in a public meeting, when I hear that UKIP is the party that will privatise the NHS. And yet, what's PFI? Private finance initiatives from Labour and Conservative governments have privatised huge sections of our NHS. Huge parts of it no longer belong to us. When you pay to park at a hospital, if it's a PFI funded hospital, that money doesn't go to the NHS, it's not going on drugs and nurses and doctors. It's going into the pocket of a shareholder, of a private monopoly. Ladies and gentlemen, the only thing worse than a public monopoly is a private monopoly. There is no possible way that this is good for us. This is a way that previous governments have kept debts off the balance sheet. They're trying to kid you. 50-year deals where private firms just rake in the cash. We're the party that should say no more of this. Let's be honest about the NHS, and let's find a way of making it work better. Simple stuff. Pensions. The pension debt isn't on the balance sheet of the government because no one dare talk about it. So let's brush it to one side, and in the meantime let's bankrupt the country. Let's talk about these things. Let's give people the freedom to understand just how bad financially the situation is in this country and that things have got to change. Otherwise, forget about your pensions. This is how serious this situation is. No one wants to broach these issues. And the most important thing that we should have and put forward as a party is the freedom to aspire to better for you and for yours. An open view of saying, just because you were born in a council estate or a mansion, it doesn't matter if you're black, white, whatever. If you're a man, woman, whatever. It shouldn't make any difference. It should be about what you bring and what you do. Who you are as a person should be judged on your own merits. And none of this is rocket science. And none of this is new. But I tell you what it is. It's what UKIP always was. It's what UKIP can be again, reinvigorated. If purple is our UKIP colour, why not be indigo? Let's be so deep purple. Let's show the difference. If the other parties want to be centre ground, middle of the road, saying the same things, completely meaningless nonsense, by the way, where the difference between them is 1 percentage point on spending. Between austerity and free spending is 1 percentage point. That was the difference between Darling and Osborne at the election where the Tories got in. That's no difference. There's no difference between these people. It's just presentation. It's just smoke and mirrors. We can be the party that doesn't do that. Why not do something really novel and unusual? Tell the truth. Why not? Why not go out there and no matter how unpopular it is at first, remember the lesson of Nigel Farage. He's gone through unpopularity like nobody's business. And then afterwards everyone's gone, he's right, you know. Let's go out there and tell people how it really is. Let's go out there and say, look, to understand how we can get better, we've got to understand where the problems lie. But we will work with you, with the public, all of us united as British. We'll work together to make this a better place, and we've got a great opportunity. I never thought in my lifetime I'd see us free from the EU. I never thought it was possible. I went out on that campaign and I gave it everything, and you know what? At no point did I think we were going to win. At no point. I'd even got a press release lined up saying the West Midlands did its bit, but the rest of the country, what have you done? No, I was going to do all sorts of things. But I take it back, because the rest of the country felt the same. We've done it. We're free. Not even Theresa May can wiggle her way out of this. She's going to have to do it. But it means nothing. And this is the sad thing of all of it. It will mean absolutely nothing if we sit back now, rest, relax, vote in a leader who will give us platitudes and smiles but won't give us drive, radicalism, policies, determination and the guts to face hard times. Because the work is just beginning. And I honestly say to you, and again, I'm not caught in popularity saying this, am I? I'm not come here waving a flag saying, well done everyone, we've won, hey! No. Don't think like that. We haven't won. You know, after the Normandy landings, had we won the Second World War? The battle was just beginning. You've got to think in these terms, and you've got to think. I mean, we had a fantastic talk earlier on where I heard about membership drives and things like that. That's the spirit. Get people on board now, and from the potholes in the street to school crossings to matters of policy, to matters of political correctness, to matters of security, to matters of life and death, like the awful thing that's happened in Normandy today. Not that far away, folks. And you look at these things, and the public have not got anybody at the moment not to turn to do it for them. Because I don't think the public want that. The public want a voice. They want someone to speak and say what they believe and what they feel. The overwhelming passion of the English people particularly, that they've been ignored, and they can see the way things are going. Economically, this country is a mess. Socially, we have issues with integration that we've never had before because there are so many people coming here, and there hasn't been an effort to make us all come together, proud to be British. My God, the proudest thing in my life is I was born British. And people who come to this country obviously love the country, they want to be here. Let's help them to be proud to be British. Let's all have a British identity. But let's not allow this madness of multiculturalism, which means we all live separately but in the same place. You can drive through a town and you can find, from one estate to the next, it's like being in a different country. Not acceptable.